Oh, good morning. This week's parsha is Parshas Bahaloischa Es Haneros, which is the parsha that speaks about Aaron kindling the menorah. However, the Torah says Bahaloischa Es Haneros El Mul Pnei HaMenorah Yi'iu Shivas Haneros. When Aaron kindles the menorah, he should light the menorah. Against the menorah, the 7 candles should be lit. And it uses the word, instead of using the word lighting, which is lahadlik, to kindle, it says bahaloischa, to bring up, to lift up. So instead of using kindle the candle, it's lifting up the candle. So Rashi says, why does the Torah change the language from kindling a candle to lifting up a candle? Is that when you kindle the menorah, it's not enough to light the flame, but you have to make sure that the candle that you use to kindle the flame should not leave the candle that it's lighting till the candle could stand on its own light and doesn't need any more assistance. In other words, sometimes you light a candle and you right away leave, and then the candle goes out because it didn't catch yet. So the Torah tells you that when you light the candle, it should be enough, bahaloischa, that the candle is lit on its own, that it doesn't need any more assistance. The same thing when a Jew meets another Jew and tries to kindle the flame in their soul. It's not enough to ignite the flame of the soul, but it's more important that you get the Jew so ignited that he's already a fire on his own, that he can light already other fires. However, the Torah says, how many branches did the menorah have? 7. The center, which is, it's called, in the Chumash, it's called menorah, and then 3 on the right, and 3 on the left, and all the fires have to face the center. So the way they made the wicks is all 3 branches on the right and all 3 branches on the left, the wicks were towards the center, so all face the middle. Why is that important? Because the Alter Rebbe says in Torah Ora, this week's parsha, that the Jewish people are split into 7 different types of Jews. Even though there's 15 million Jews, but they fall in 7 categories. And each category has to be kindled with their flame. But it should face the center, because we all come from the same. But it's banged out in 7. What's the 7 categories? There are some Jews that serve God, and their motivation is out of love, which he calls chesed. Everything they do, they daven with love. They give tzedakah with love. They do everything with love. Then there are some Jews, which he calls yira gvura, which they serve God out of awe. So what motivates them to give tzedakah? The awe of God. What motivates them to daven? Awe of God. Then there's a 3rd type of Jew, which they use tiferes, which is mercy, which represents Torah. For them, their main focus is learning Torah. Their main focus is, the reason they're motivated is because they want to learn Torah, and Torah motivates them. Then there is a 4th type of Jew, which is Netzach, which he's very determined to do everything, even if there's an obstacle and there's a challenge in the way, it doesn't block him. He's determined, and he's going to do it, and even if he doesn't understand, because he doesn't have the Torah knowledge, even though he doesn't have the love to God, even if he doesn't have the awe, he still does the right thing because he's determined. So he doesn't have the first 3, but he's a determined person that he wants to do right. So that's the 4th branch. Then you have another type of Jew, which is called humble, hod, which is a humble person, because a humble person realizes, listen, maybe I don't understand, maybe I don't have love, maybe I don't have awe, maybe I don't know, but I do it because this is what God wants. And then you have the 6th type of Jew, which is called bonding, yesod, which is he's connected. He feels connected to God. He has that bond, like an emotional bond, not because he's determined, not because he's understanding, not because he's loving, and then the 7th is called royalty. It's like there's 2 types of Jews. There's Jews that we call fakvetched. And then there's a Jew that's royal. What's fakvetched? Everything is very like, I got to do it this way, and he can't think wider. He doesn't have an open mind and an open heart. As you know, the 4th Lubavitcher Rebbe acted very wealthy. His furniture was the most expensive furniture. He always traveled first class. On the train, it had to be the first class. Hotel, the highest level, the most expensive room. His wagon, the coach, or whatever he went, was the most 4 horses, At the same time, he was a pure tzaddik that was all for Hashem. But it was like serving God with openness, a wide way of serving, not closed. That, listen, if I'm serving God, I only can earn $100. It was all for Hashem in a very wealthy way. Like Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbeinu HaKadosh, which is the author of the Mishnah, he was the most wealthiest person that lived in his time, that the Roman Empire, were the king, the Caesar, the Caesar, was the servants of Rebbe was more wealthy than the Caesar of Rome. Yet when Rebbe died, before he died, he picked up his 10 fingers. He said, God, I didn't benefit from this world even a pinky. For me, this whole world was serving God. So even though he was wealthy and he had hundreds of horses but it wasn't for him. It's called a wide way of serving. This is the 7th type of Jew, which the Rebbe encouraged, that in our generation, we have to serve God with wide open-heartedness, that God has to give everyone wealth, God has to give everyone health, and we use everything to serve Hashem. That's the most appropriate way. So all 7 types of Jews are banged out from the same source, and they all serve the same purpose, to kindle the flame of Hashem. So Hashem should help that we should kindle ourselves, kindle others, and make the world a bright world with the coming of Mashiach. Amen.